Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Sergio. Today, I'm having here a wonderful conversation with my friend Gabi Almeida, also known as Mini Gabi. She's joining me all the way from London. We're going to talk about her journey, her story of being a musician, and then having a personal, unfortunate accident that led her to become also an artist. So we're going to talk about her story, unfold that, and see what she's doing right now. Hi, Gabi. Good to see you today. How are you?
I'm good. Great to be here. I'm so happy that I'm on this show. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Gabi. You have a fabulous story that I would love to share with our friends here, because I think it's kind of that one of those stories of resilience, of how life, has its ways of turning sometimes, or focus or attention in different ways, and how out of those things, amazing and beautiful things can happen, right? And a new hope and a new focus, a new direction for life can happen around that. And especially now, because we are living through this pandemic and everything that's going on, and people had plans, and we all had, 2020 as like the great, wonderful year, and nobody had in their to-do list survive a pandemic, right? So it's so
surreal.
It's one of those things, right? And we've known each other for a while through the Next Level Academy as well, and being part of our community, and just been so wonderful to see also your growth, and as you continue to find new ways for yourself. So first, let's tell our friends, where are you at right now?
I'm in London, in England, and yes, I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil, but I was sent to England by a mistake, actually. I was meant to go to America, but the agency made a mess of the...
Really?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a, I don't know, it was like one of those things. And by the time my parents realized, because I was only 16, it was too late to change everything. So I was sent to England instead, because it was when people used to book courses and things through agencies. Anyway, I'm here now, I love it, and I'm so grateful.
So your first, your passion was music, right? And so as you in your teenage years, is music something that you're pursuing, something that you want to do?
Yes. Well, so when I was a teenager and I finished high school, all I wanted to do was be a guitarist. And I remember my friends, my colleagues at high school saying, what are you going to do next? Everyone was talking about university. I'm going to study to be a lawyer, a doctor, an architect, that kind of thing. And I used to say, I just want to be a guitarist. I want to play guitar. And people just look at me and say, and what next? What else?
What else?
And I used to find that really weird, because to me it was really normal. It was just that's what I want to do. But in my head, I was going to do that in America, but then I was sent to England, and that happened here. So I ended up, it's a long story, but cutting the story short, I went from playing in pubs and doing, little concerts, to busking on the streets, to then playing on MTV awards, and being a super professional session musician.
Really cool.
My professional world and, my professional life in music started. And then after that, I did that for a few years, and then I got into, I wanted to explore also my songwriting, and produce my own album. And and then I went solo. So I decided to go solo, and I produced my own album and produced my, and everything was going fine. And I always loved art. My parents were artists. My mom was an artist.
Oh, really? Okay.
And my grandparents were art dealers. Which was so I grew up with art, and through music I used to do my posters and also direct my videos and try to bring a bit of animation and do the art directing of the videos, and the flyers. I used to work with visuals on my shows, and that's how I used to showcase and perform my art. But I had this idea, Sergio. I had this idea of I want to actually in the future create a character to go on tour on my behalf.
Okay. So since then, you already kind of had some...
I was thinking about it. But I was busy, what life is, you're just recording, you're writing songs, you're performing, you're doing the all this. And you always kind of it wasn't a priority, but it was
yeah.
a dream, because I thought this would be really cool, was doing collaborations with people in the music world there. And I moved to Berlin, which was like, you know, super cool city.
Up to this point, you have pretty much your career already kind of on a great path, that you're moving forward, you're making connections, you're moving up, you have your album, you're touring, you know, you're doing all these things. And, you know, you're kind of like, your mind is already set on the path that you've been laying out before you. And then something happened. So tell us about exactly what happened there, and what that turned into.
And as you said, I was trying to just run from the studio into, you know, into doing meetings, into doing marketing, into going back to writing, into rehearsing. And one day I was just running really fast, trying to really multitask, and, you know, it was really silly. And I simply slipped. And I fell with my head on a pillar, right on a pillar, because I didn't see the pillar. And I was running quite fast. Although my hands went to the floor, I didn't see, and my hand went straight to the pillar, and I had concussion straight away. The bang that, you know, that I heard my head do, I just thought, you know, it's just broken the pillar, because, and I saw stars in, you know, had to go to hospital, and it was horrible. It turns out that I was really, really sick for 3 months.
Wow.
Just nothing. So for like the first, you know, month, I was pretty much just staring at the wall and not doing much, or sleeping. As I started to get better, I started to trying, you know, putting a little bit of, you know, not to go mentally mad. I started I tried to read, you know, a few things that I have in the house, and I realized that was also very tiring for me. So, but because I was in Berlin, and that's where the magic starts. This is where the magic starts. So I had all these comics, and I was practicing German with them. So I started reading them again, and I realized that they weren't really making me dizzy. That it was fine, because they were just little bubbles, one step at a time. It wasn't just like whole text. I started drawing, and I just started drawing characters. And at this point, I was feeling quite down and depressed, because I was at home, and it was already like on the second, going to the third month. And I'm thinking, and you know, and that time that I started creating these characters just kind of flew, and it was almost like I started drawing situations of the characters doing things that I couldn't do. So it was like almost they were doing things on my behalf.
Yeah.
Like, so they were, you know, so they weren't fronting the band. They were just going out and doing fun things. And I created the little boy to begin with. Then I created the little girl. And then a friend of mine came to visit, and she kind of like made a joke and said, "Oh, that's Mini Gabi." And that's where the name of my main character came from. And this is why my art name, my nickname, became Mini Gabi. Looking back, I'm so happy with what I'm doing. It's so inspiring, and I really enjoy it. And I wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm so glad I had this head injury." I prefer that we find ourselves in other ways, But if, you know,
but it's part of life, you know. It's kind of like what we're experiencing right now. You know, we wish we didn't have this, or 9/11, or anything, that things that happen to us sometimes individually as well as collectively. And but it's what we do after that. How do we find a new path? How do we find a new way? That really makes the whole difference. So what you've been doing now, you know, because of the pandemic, as you've been, you know, in isolation for a while.
So this event of my having this head injury in Berlin taught me how to be resilient and on my own at home. Because when I was there, I didn't have. I had one friend, and because it was a new city, a new place. So during the pandemic, I actually felt very inspired, because it was a lot easier for me in comparison to what I went through with my head injury in Berlin. Because there I was sick, and during the pandemic, I felt like as long as I'm healthy, I'm happy, you know, and I'm very grateful to be healthy, because a lot of people there, you know, are having a really hard time. So I just felt like, I'm going to put this time to be creative. It was like going back to my, the beginnings of just drawing. So I did a lot of drawing, a lot of like new character drawings, and then coloring. And so because I was doing also a lot of murals and bigger piece.
So tell me, I have one last question for you, which I want to ask you, because you also work with us in the academy, in the Next Level Academy. What was your experience there?
Oh, I love it, because I also recently developed a real passion for business as well, which is, the entrepreneurship, and it's just a very supportive environment. It's just nice to have a group and a mentor. I think everyone can benefit from having mentors, and I really recommend that to anyone. I think especially if you are an artist and you want to also have a business, and having a mentor is super cool, and your knowledge and wisdom, because you are an artist as well, so that makes the whole difference. It's not like only in the business of coaching, so you actually have applied all the techniques. So I think it's really is a lot of value in having mentors and being part of supportive groups, and also just meeting new people, talking to new people. So definitely thank you for all that I've.
Well, Gabi, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very inspirational, and it's amazing how you have turned one path of a career to another. So for the friends who would like to follow you and connect with you on social media, where can they find you?
So all my handles are at Mini Gabi World.
Mini Gabi World.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Mini Gabi World. And my website is just minigabi.com.
Well, super cool, Gabi. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being part of this conversation here, and inspiring us all to continue moving forward despite the obstacles that come our way. So thank you to all the friends for watching today as well. Thank you for being here. Please share this episode with your friends, connect with Gabi, and we'll see you pretty soon. Goodbye.